Hi, my name is Gabriel and welcome to my channel. If you like these videos, please subscribe and like. In this lesson, we are going to take a look at a table and verify that the total price always equals price times units for each of these rows. First, we will create a Maven project using IntelliJ. Second, we're going to import the necessary dependencies, TestNG, WebDriver Manager, and Selenium. Third, we're going to create a test class and use these following annotations: before method, after method, and test. Then I will provide a step-by-step solution. First, for only one row. Second, with a static logical comparison using a for loop, and then fully dynamic. You can access all this code on GitHub, which I'm going to leave a link in the description. This is the URL that I'm going to use in this tutorial. Let's dive in. First, we need to create our project. In order to do that, I'm starting with IntelliJ and then click New Project. Let's give it a name and call it Automation Tips. And it's going to be a Java project. We don't need to create a Git repository. Maven, and I'm going to use OpenJDK 18 for this. You can use any of these, but I'm going to use OpenJDK 18. Then we are going to create the group ID. I'm going to call it com.gabrielfit, and I'm going to leave the artifact ID as is. And now our project has been created and it's available. So now let's go ahead and add the dependencies to my POM file. Let's open the POM file. And I'm going to add the Selenium dependency, the WebDriver Manager dependency, and the TestNG dependency. You can also use JUnit, but in this tutorial, I am going to use TestNG. In order to do that, in our POM file, we have to add the dependencies tag, and in between these tags, we are going to add the Selenium, WebDriver Manager, and TestNG dependency. So let's go to the Maven repository and grab those dependencies. First one is going to be Selenium. Click the top one, Selenium Java, and then I'm going to use the latest version. And once you click this box here, it's automatically copied to your clipboard. You can come back to the POM file and just paste it. Next, I'm going to get the WebDriver Manager dependency. Search for it, the top one that says Bonnie Garcia. Click it, latest version. Click this box and then paste it into your POM file. And finally, I am going to add the TestNG dependency. Search for it, click, and I'm going to get the latest version for this as well. Click it, and then paste it into your POM file. This is automatically downloaded. You might have seen the Maven icon here with the refresh icon. It's automatically downloaded to my external libraries. So let me just save it. And then if I go in here, you can see the libraries that are downloaded to my local machine. The TestNG library, the Selenium libraries, and there should be like somewhere. This is the Bonnie Garcia one, the WebDriver Manager. So now after adding my dependencies, I'm going to add my test class and its structure into it. To do that, I'm going to add into the test folder under Java a new package. I'm going to say new, right click new package, and I'm going to call it automation tips. And under this, I'm going to create my test class. I'm going to say new Java class. And let's call this tip 1. verify table data. I always like to have the outline of my automation script on the top of the test class. So I'm just going to copy and paste it into here from my notepad. But I always have a visibility of the outline of the automation script that I'm going to write. And as you can see here, step by step, first I'm going to add the before method, after method, and test annotations from the test-ng library, and create a structure where in the before method I'm going to create the driver instance. In the after method I'm going to quit the driver, and under the test I'm going to implement my test script. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's say for method from the test-ng library, and it's giving me an error because it expects a method outline after it. So I'm just going to say public void, and let me name it test setup. In this method, I'm going to create my driver instance. So let's set up the browser first. I'm going to set up the browser by using the WebDriver Manager library, and I'm going to set it to the Chrome driver. And once I just select setup, it's going to be set up in this method. Next, I'm going to find the driver. I'm going to say WebDriver driver equals to new Chrome driver. Let me import this library, import class, and add the next step, which is I like to have my browser to be maximized full screen. So I say driver.manage.window and then maximize. So this is going to maximize the browser window. And I also, as a habit, I always add a timeout, an implicit timeout to the browser, to the driver instance, and I'm going to add that here as well. Implicitly wait, I'm going to say 10 seconds long. And then I'm going to get the test URL and launch the browser with it. So I'm going to say driver.get. I'm just going to put quotes for now here because I'm going to enter the browser URL string by adding it to the class here. Actually, I can do this now. Let me say string test URL equals to, I'm just going to paste and copy and paste it into here. So let's copy this and then paste it in here. So this is the URL I'm going to use for this tutorial. Let me get rid of these. I don't need the space here. Make it beautiful. And then after I have completed my before method, I'm going to add the after method. And I'm going to name this method tear down. You can name it anything you want to. Doesn't have to be the same. Just basically this annotation runs after each test method has been executed in this class. So you can name it anything. You can name test setup anything. And in this method, I am going to quit the driver. I know it's going to give me an error, and I'm going to explain why. Let me get this up and then do this. So the problem here is that the driver is not defined at the class level. It's actually defined at the before method, at this method here, and it lives and dies here. So what I need to do is I need to define this variable at the class level, so each method in this class can use the driver variable here. All right, so now I can see the color change for this. This is the same. And this is not the same because, again, in this method, if I don't remove the WebDriver, this is going to still create a new driver variable in here. So if I remove this, now it's been unilateral. It's only one driver variable, which is used in the before method and in the after method. And next, I'm going to add my test annotation and just name my method. I'm going to name it verify table data. So now my framework is ready, and in the next section we are going to add the scripts that we are going to use to verify the information in the table data. In this step, let's go ahead and add the logic for one row. Let me access the website first and then go to Sandbox and Table Data. So again, what we're trying to do here is we are verifying that the total price in this table equals to the price column times units column, meaning $420 does equal to 140 times 3. So this is the challenge we're trying to solve. So in order to do that, we need to retrieve the text from the website and convert it into an integer and then multiply them, right? In Selenium, there is a method which is driver.findElement because we have to find element first. I'm just going to leave this kind of empty for now. XPath and just an empty string. And then if I say get text, I would get the text that from the element that's been defined in here, right? So if I find the XPath for this and put it in here and then run this, I would get back a string, as you can see here, right? So after that, after I retrieve the string, I have to convert that string into an integer to be able to use it for my test logic. So let's find the XPath for the price. And before that, actually, let me name it string, and I'd say item price text equals to this. Now I have to add the correct XPath into here so I can retrieve the text and assign it to the item price text string variable. Okay, let's right click on this, say inspect. And I'm using a extension called CrowPath, which is very, very useful. It just finds the XPath automatically for me, so I don't have to do it necessarily. So as you can see, this element here is this XPath here. So I'm just going to copy it. Okay, you see here, like click copy to copy it. And then after I copy it, I'm just going to paste it into this section here. So now I have gotten a text from my web page by finding the element, and I assign it to this variable. But as I mentioned before, you cannot calculate, you cannot multiply strings. It has to be in integer format or any type of number format to be able to perform mathematical operations, right? So I'm going to add a integer. I'm going to call it item price. I'm going to convert this into integer. And a useful method to do that is by using the integer dot value of, as you can see here. This converts a string into an integer. And if I put this text in here, I will now have a item price integer value by converting this string into integer. There's a slight problem which I'd like to point out. So let me just print this and say item price colon, and then just add this into my print ln method. Let me just run this and see what's going to come up in the console. So if I do this, it's not verifying anything. I'm just going to show you a very important detail here. So let's run it. Starting the browser. And then oh, it failed. Why did it fail? Let's see. Because we did not give the test URL into the browser here. So let me just replace this. Now save it. Close this browser here. We don't need this. And let's run it again. You can run it either through here or through the top portion once it's configured. I'm going to use this run test here. So let's run it again. So it's going to launch the browser, go to the test URL, get the information, and then put it into my integer variable. But as you can see here, there's a number format exception. And that is because, yes, this is a string, but it has a $sign in front of it. I have to get rid of this. Otherwise, I'm always going to get this exception here. So how I am going to do that? All right, that's the question. Let me just close this. I don't need this. And let me put this to the next line so I can explain it. And yeah, so I know that this is a string, right? Since this is a string, I can use the string methods to manipulate this string. So I know that there's a method called replace, and I'm going to replace the $sign with just an empty, with nothing. So I'm going to get this variable from the web page, and I'm going to get rid of the $sign. So this item price variable is assigned only a number, not along with the $sign, and it's not going to create an exception for me. So let me just save this and run it again. And it's going to launch the browser again, go to the test URL, and then just close it. And as you can see now, the item price is correct in the correct format that I wanted, because I'm going to use this to multiply with the other variables. So let's close this down. And now I have to just repeat the same for the units element and the total price element. So because once I have these, right, now I can multiply this and put an assert into it and verify that this price is correct. So let me just right click on 3 and say inspect. This is a very long XPath. I don't care for, as of now, because I'm going to change it later on anyway. So I'm just going to copy it and paste it in here. Before I paste this into the find element, I'm just going to copy this section here and paste it 2 times. I'm going to say item price I'm going to change item price text item unit text, and I'm going to change this to item unit. I'm going to change this to item total price text, and I'm going to change this to item total price. So now I have all three variables that I need to be able to do my test. Let me just copy this, cut it, and then paste it into my XPath here. It's going to be a very long XPath. Again, I don't care. We're going to change it later on anyways. Now, finally, I have to find the total price, XPath, right click, inspect, and my extension CrowPath is just going to find it for me, copy it, and then paste it into the find element X by XPath method. Perfect. Let me also copy this print and paste it 2 times. So we can just see once it runs and executes that we have the correct numbers. Let me update this by saying item unit price and item total price. Now let's save it and let's run it. It's launching my browser, goes to the website, retrieves the information that is necessary for me, and puts it into the variables. Of course, this is not correct because I didn't update the integers here. Let me go ahead and do that. So I want item price here, item unit here, and item total price here. And I also need to replace these as well because the pairing was wrong. So I'm just going to copy these and put it into the section where it needs to be. So let me just save it again. So again, price text converted to item price, item unit text converted to item unit, and item total price text converted to item total price. So let's run it again. Save and run. It's going to launch my browser, get the information, and save it in those variables. As you can see now, it is correct. Item price is 140, units price, I needed price, item units. Let me get rid of this. Doesn't matter, it's just to see if I get the correct values or not. An item total price is 420, which is correct. 143, 420. So you may say, we didn't have to use the replace function here for the unit text because it doesn't have a dollar sign. It's fine. It's just not going to find it, and it's not going to replace it because it's not existing. So now what I need to do finally is to just assert that my proposition is correct, right? So let's say assert true, which has to be a Boolean condition. And in this, I'm going to add my logic. So what is it? It is item price times item unit equals to item total price, right? So if this condition is true, my assertion is true and it's going to pass. If it's not, it's going to fail. So let's run it and see what is going to happen. Launches the browser, retrieves the information, calculates my assertion, and then it asserts it as true. So consequently, my test has passed and my logic has been implemented. So in this section, I'm going to try to replicate the same for all the other rows in my table. So what are we going to do? Are we going to copy this and paste it like 6 more times because there's 7 rows in this? Or do we need to implement a logic where I can iterate through the table and just get the information that I need? And just with one for loop, I can replicate my assertion and see if the information is correct. Well, obviously, copying this and pasting it 6 times doesn't make really much sense. Number one is because this table can have more rows at the bottom. And number two, it's very cumbersome, right? It's a lot of information that's been copied and pasted, and it's a huge test script. Like, imagine this whole section here copied and pasted 6 times, or having 6 more tests like this. It doesn't make sense. So, in order to solve this problem, let's go to our web page and let's investigate it a little bit, right? Let's go in here on to, and let's take a look at the elements. So if I take a look here, I see that there's a header section, which is T head, and it's at the top. It's this row here, right? And there's a body section. Body section is basically this whole, as you can see, the highlighted area. And under the body section, I can see the TR tag, which is the tag, the element for each row. You see like the highlighted area, that's row number 1, row number 2, 3, and 4, and so forth. So if I write T body and then TR, I am going to get all the row elements. Okay, is this a good thing for us? Well, not really at this stage. Why? Because I need each row by itself. So what I need to do is open bracket, 1, close, and if I do this, I'm going to get only 1 row. But my goal is to get the data or information of the specific columns. I don't want this. This I don't need. I need this, the 3rd column, the 4th column, and the 5th column. As you can see here under the table row element, there are 5 TD tags, table data tags, right? So I just need the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th. So if I do the same thing, I just go in here and say TD 3, enter, I will just get this one here. This is the column I want. And if I say 4, I will get the next column. And if I say 5, I will get the next column. So if I replace the XPaths that I have in my script with these more um, intelligent ones, I will get the same result for 1 row. So this is the 3rd column. This is the 4th column. I'm going to paste it and just change this to 4. And this is the 5th column, right? Let me just save this. And let's run it. Let's first run it and let's see how it looks. It should give me the same result. It's just putting the XPath in a different format into my code and executing it. And as you can see here, item price is still $140, item unit is still 3, and item total price is $420. So why did I do this? It is because I can, since this is a string, I can manipulate it, right? I can create a string that's going to take a number and it's going to iterate through the rows, meaning if this number here changes from 1 to 3, it's going to get the same information for the 3rd row. If I change this from 3 to 6, it's going to get the same information for the 6th row. So I can just manipulate the row number here to go through each row and verify that the total price is correct. So to do that, I'm just going to simply create a for loop. If I type for I in IntelliJ, it's going to automatically create it for me. And since I know that there are 7 rows, I'm going to top it at 8. And I also know it starts at 1, not at 0. I'm just going to change this to 1. And after that, I am just going to copy this whole code, cut it, and paste it into my for loop. Let me clean this up. Beautiful. So now I need to manipulate this to be able to get the integer I from my for loop and put it into my string. To do that, I simply put a quote here plus I plus quote. Oops, quote. And I remove the number 1 here. So as you can see now, it's going to take for each iteration, it's going to take the I integer and put it into my string. Consequently, it's going to go through each row in my web page and do the same test for each row. Of course, I need to change this for the other XPaths as well. So let me just copy this and put it in here. Let me get rid of these. I don't need that. And paste it in here as well. Let me get rid of this too. Now save it. So what I'm expecting now is that because I have a for loop from 1 to 8, which is actually 7 because it's going to stop at 7. It's not going to go to 8. It's going to go through each row, get the item price, the item unit, and the total price, and verify that it is correct. So let's try this out. Save it and then run it and see what's going to happen. So now it's launching my browser. It gets all the information and then executes the script, right? So you can see here, and we could have put like the row number in here too, so it's more we understand better what's going on here. Let me do that number and say plus, put a colon here and say plus I plus, put a space here. Let me copy this and put it here as well. Put it here as well. So let me run this again. So this is going to be more um, explained as you'll see in a bit. So let me run this again. It's a fairly quick test anyways. It's running, gets all the information, executes my script and my assertion, and the test passed. So as you can see here, row number 1, this is the correct information. Row number 2, 100 for 400. Row number 2 is here, 100 for 400. So I'm getting the result I was expecting. So in this section, I'm going to make my script more smarter, meaning more intelligent, because what if we add another row in this, right? So we have 7 rows in this. What if there's another row, 8, maybe 10, maybe 20? Do I have to go back and change the number here, the iterator number, right? Doesn't make sense. So I need to come up with some solution where I can also get the row number information and just put it into my script. So if I just change this to 10 in example and run it, it's going to fail because there's no 8th or 9th row on the table here. But let's see how it fails. Let's see. what's going to happen when I do that. I know it's going to fail, but let's see in action. Launches the browser, gets the information, and it stalls because it fails, right? If I go here, test has failed. Why? Because it is a no such element exception, because it cannot find the 10th row, the ninth row, the 8th row, right? If I type 8 in here and I push this, enter, there's no element that's matching it. So what do I need to do? I need to come up with a solution where I can get the row number from the web page and implement it into my script. To do that, I am going to use list. So if I say list and web element, and I say rows equals to driver dot find elements, I'm gonna leave this empty for now. I'm going to get a list of all the elements that matches this XPath. Let me import the list here too. And after that, I'm going to get the size of the list, right? So if I do this here, I'm going to get every element that's matching this. And the t-body tr is matching for each row in this table. So if I copy this and paste it into my script, my expectation is that I am going to get all the elements that match this criteria. And let me put this into an integer too. Let's call it row number. And it's going to equal rows size, because the row size method is going to return an integer to me, which is going to give me the size of the rows list. Let's put this back to 8, and let's make a print here. If you type sout, S-O-U-T, on IntelliJ and just hit enter, it just puts the method right in front of you. Let's say row number, say total row numbers, and let's see what is going to come up. All right, let's save it. Let's run it. We know it's going to pass anyways, but let's see what's going to come up here. We are expecting a 7. All right, it closes. And at the top, as you can see, total row numbers equals to 7. All right, so if I take this information, copy this, and put this in here, and say, you can either say +1, or you can say, I'm sorry, if you say this and remove the 1, it should do the same thing, right? So if I say less or equal to row number, it's going to iterate till 7, and it's going to stop there. So now, in this way, my script is more dynamic, because if you add 20 rows, 30 rows, it doesn't matter. The logic is in here, and it's going to get the numbers of the rows that I need to test through this here and implement it into my for loop. So let's run and see what is going to happen. As you can see, it passed, right? Got the information here and executed it. So this is a much more intelligent code, and it's not big. It's very straightforward. It's easy to read and easy to understand. Well, thank you for watching, and please subscribe to my channel, like this video, and stay tuned for the next videos. Thank you very much. Bye.